So I made a deal with myself. I was like, I'll call on a Sunday because I know no one will be there, and I'll like just see if it really is Dick Smith's school or whatever. That's how intimidated I was. I call on Sunday, and it rings for like it's like half a ring, and someone answers, "Hello," it's a woman's voice, "Hello," and I said, Rick Baker gave me this number. I'm calling for like Dick Smith's school. She's like, hold on, Dick, pick up the phone.
Stop it!
I swear to God.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the DeluluCanoe Podcast. Woo! Where everyone here is just a little bit Delulu in the best kind of way. Speaking of Delulu in the best kind of way, I have joining me today is my co-host / producer, Cosmo from the Cosmo Show.
Woo! What up? How you doing?
I am so excited for today.
Yeah?
We have a very special guest today.
Very special guest.
Yeah, I actually took time out of my life, which this is rare, and I watched a film that was not recommended to me, and this person actually directed the film. So I'm excited and delighted to announce the director of Brightburn, Nightbook, and writer and director for The Hive, and one outstanding achievement in a short filmmaking, David Yarovesky.
Hey.
That was a mouthful.
Wait, did we get it right?
I don't know.
Last
Did
name?
I?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I wasn't paying attention. I was busy thinking about the shout out to my short film that I had. Yeah. It was funny. Yeah, funny.
I saw
yeah.
on your, because I was looking on IMDb, it's like
Yeah.
my favorite place to look up actors, writers, directors, and it had like a little award blurb, and I was like, I don't have an award blurb. What is this?
Yeah.
And then I looked at it, and I was like, you won an award.
I did.
That's incredible.
Yeah, it's fun. I mean, I think, winning awards is very weird because it's like, I don't know. I don't really feel like I make the kind of movies that like, that are award, we're not really striving for awards. At least I wouldn't say that about Brightburn or The Hive or Nightbooks. But yeah, it's just funny winning awards because how do you possibly judge those kind of things? It's like weird.
Yeah, I have really done my research on especially short film festivals because I have a short that I want to put into them. But there's so many different categories now than 10 years ago when I was first looking into film festivals. So I think it's really cool that there's tons of little subgenres and ways that film can still be alive today and still be important, especially in the short film content, where people are so drawn to TikTok now because it's short, and I feel like you deserve to win your award.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. I mean, look, I love short form content,
Yeah.
You make a movie, and what happens is you make a movie and you get all these ideas, and then over the course of 3 years, you work on those ideas, but they're by the end 3-year-old ideas. And by the time you put the movie out, you're a completely changed person. You're a better filmmaker than when you started, but you're stuck with all these ideas that are 3 years old.
Yeah.
But for a long time, I was doing music videos and commercials and I guess a couple short films.
Yeah.
And it's like I have an idea, and a month later, it's on YouTube. And there's something just really gratifying about that experience, just quick dopamine hit of getting to make the thing you wanted to make and seeing it and showing it to people, and that's that.
That's how I started wanting to make a short film, is because I made a music video, and I saw you also. Who was the really famous person you did a music video for? I was
I've
shook.
done a couple.
There were so
Korn,
many.
Steve
Yes.
Aoki, I did one for the Guardians of the Galaxy, which is
That's
weird.
so cool.
Yeah, I've done it, but I've done 80 music videos.
Wow, no way.
Yeah, I did a lot of music videos.
That's incredible.
Yeah, it was a really it was 10 years of my life where I just started doing just nonstop music videos. And I was kind of on the boat as it was sinking, if that makes any sense.
Of music video, yeah.
Yeah, of budgets and of the scale in which those are being made for and stuff. But yeah, I did it for a long time, and it was fun. It was a really fun part of my life.
So to be that involved in the industry, and not only in just directing, but also being a writer and directing music videos, you have to be a little delulu, right? Just a little.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I think you really have to be a lot. I have this crazy story that I think about all the time, and it really is. It's a humbling story, and it's also it's just it puts perspective on everything for me, at least in my career, because sometimes it's very easy in this town to freak out or panic or whatever. So I was fortunate enough to make this movie called Night Books, and one of my childhood idols is this guy Sam Raimi, who you may have heard of. So he produced Night Books, and I got to work with him, and that was like incredible. And the truth is that as a kid, a very young kid, and probably until I was like, I don't even know what age, like. I wanted to be Sam Raimi, right? Like I was just like, this is the coolest guy. Like he's made these horror films, and I was just like convinced, like I'd be like pals with him, like we'd be like friends, and like like all these like weird delulu thoughts. Like, oh yeah, we're gonna be like buddies, and like like he's gonna meet me, and I'm gonna say something like, oh, I want to make horror movies, and he's gonna be like, oh, you're one of us, come on, let's go, get in the van, and just think I'm a genius and whatever, whatever. So cut to, I've just got done with my first week of shooting Night Books, and I'd been working with Sam for a while, but he on Sundays would like review my dailies with me and like go over it and talk to me about what we're doing, and this was the first week of dailies that he got to see, and he watched the dailies, and then we got on Zoom because this is pandemic movie.
Oh, right? Okay, yeah.
And he got on, and he was just like, he spent an hour just like gushing, like he was like, his big note was keep doing what you're doing, lean into the characters, and make it about them, like it was so, but it was so complimentary and so intensely like positive, and like I got to the end of the Zoom, and I was like, I was floored. I didn't know what to say, right? It's like Sam's like glowing about my footage, and I look up, and my wife is like tears. She's like standing behind my computer, and like tears are running down her face, and she's like, did you ever think you would like have a conversation with Sam Raimi like that? And this is the part that's crazy. I thought for like a couple seconds, and I was like, yeah, I did. For like a really long time, I like 100% knew that I would. And then I turned, I don't know, 20 something, and like the crushing reality of working in the industry and like just life, being an adult, started to like, squeeze away all your dreams and all the ways that you think that are like, that are childlike, but also that come from a different kind of understanding, a different kind of perspective. And it was just and so I lost that thing along the way, and now here I am confronted with it actually happening, and it was like just such a weirdly magical moment for me, because I was like, I knew exactly who I was as a kid, and then I got lost along the way or something, and I just like landed right back at where maybe I knew I was going as a kid, but just didn't see as a young adult. It was interesting.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of that is so true in a lot of people's stories, and how they go from being the victim to victor, where you start off with a dream and this idea. Like, I remember the first time my mom told me that I was like not a good singer. She was like, oh, you're an okay singer. And I made the choice to like dedicate myself and like really work on it. Cause I'm being honest, I was terrible. I was so bad. I couldn't put a tune in a bucket or whatever that phrase is. But I worked on it, and then eventually I got good enough to like win awards and do all these really cool things and perform at the state fair. And then I had to get a job. I was like 16, 17, 18, and I worked at like KFC, and I worked at like a hotel doing laundry. And you lose the dream because you have to say yes to work and yes to the dollar. And it takes time to sit there and go, oh, I'm not on the path that I want to be on. Like, sure, I'm making money and I'm doing the thing that society tells me to do, but where is my creativity?
Yeah.
Where did that joyous, childlike enthusiasm go? And it's so hard to have that talk with yourself.
Yeah.
And then how do you balance it? How do you balance making money, being successful, or just doing a job to pay for the dream and the fantasy that you had as a kid?
Yeah, I don't know, but I imagine if, I don't know, Taylor Swift was sitting there, she would say something similar, like, I sucked as a kid and I had to work and get better. Like we all sucked as a kid. Like I made a bunch of movies when I was 10 and they all
Aw.
suck.
Mhm.
Like I was not a good filmmaker. You have to like learn, like me, if you as an adult saw what I was making, you would be like, huh, there's something to this kid. He's committed in a way to figuring this out,
Mhm.
but he's still like this is incredibly boring and self-indulgent, and
Aw.
it's it's like and just poorly crafted, and like none of it works, and if you're being critical like that, but the point is like you have an intense passion for it, and so I'd say
Yeah.
the same thing to you. I mean, I don't know, but
Yeah.
it sounds like you had an intense passion for this
Mhm.
thing, and over the years like you've grown your craft, you've gotten better at it, you've like
Mhm.
learned how to do it in a professional way or in like a bigger way, and
Yeah.
that's the journey.
Yeah, so I'm personally very fascinated in how did you decide that this was the avenue that you wanted to go down? Like did you start off having like a normal 9 to 5, or was this something like creatively you always knew you wanted to like direct, write?
It's so funny because I do get asked this a lot,
Mm.
like in interviews and stuff, but it's like it's like a there's the canned answer, which is like, I grew up as a kid and like immediately I saw Nightmare on Elm Street when I was like 4 and it
Mhm.
terrified me. And then I just wanted to make movies from that point on.
Mhm.
And that is like the simplest version of it. But it's not really, it's the short film. It's not the full story. The truth is that I really, I saw horror films and I like to scare people and I like to get
Mm.
reactions out of people, and I really leaned into filmmaking and looking at that. But the way I understood it was like special effects and like creating like scary things, masks
Yeah.
and stuff. And so I spent a long time going like deep into that. And my dad, he owns a dental laboratory, he makes teeth.
Oh, what?
Yeah, yeah, it's very weird.
That sounds very mad scientisty.
It
It's a dental
it
laboratory.
It's great when he's like, you're in a part of the gothic community and like, we need fangs. It's like, well, my dad.
Yeah, I mean he
He's
made me a
got a
lot of fangs as a
laboratory.
kid, yeah. But
That's
so
cool.
he one day he comes home, he's like, this guy came in, he told me, he was like, about a year ago, this guy came in, who's in a movie, and I'm starting to think maybe you would know who this is. It's like
Hmm.
This guy Gary Oldman. I don't know if you know. And I was like, what? So my dad made the gold teeth for True Romance on Gary Oldman. This is like,
Yes.
my dad's not in the entertainment industry, but somehow I don't even understand how it came to be that Gary Oldman found my dad to make those grills. I don't know what it is,
Wow.
but I think it happened through Rick Baker.
Hmm.
And so the reason why he was bringing it up to me, because he saw all these books I had in my house that were like Rick Baker. I was like obsessed with Rick Baker. He's like a award-winning makeup special effects artist.
Yeah.
And he's like, do you want to meet him? And I was like, yeah, I definitely want to meet him. So he took me to meet Rick Baker. And I was like 15 or 16. I was at a shop and I was like, I'd heard a million stories of special effects guys going like, please let me work for you. I'll come sweep. I'll do whatever, but let me learn. And
Mhm.
that's how they like started, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
And so I said the same thing to him, like, please, can I just do this? And he's like, well, there's all these legal regulations now, so we can't hire someone who's 15, 16. Like, we can't. You have to be 18. There's toxic
Yeah.
chemicals in here and blah, blah. But if you really are serious,
Mhm.
you should sign up for Dick Smith's school. And so Dick Smith is the guy who trained him on like The Exorcist. They work together, and like and Dick Smith is
Oh.
legendary makeup and special effects artist. So I went, okay. And he gave me this number. He like wrote this number on this piece of paper,
Wow.
and it was like, this is his school. Call his school and like go do the school, and then I'll give you an internship when you're 18 or whatever. I was like, okay, I'm definitely gonna do that. But it was terrifying to even call
Mhm.
that school. So I was like, I'm not doing it. So I made a deal with myself. I was like, I'll call on a Sunday because I know
Mhm.
no one will be there, and I'll like just see if it really is Dick Smith's school or
Uh-huh.
what. That's how intimidated I was by the whole
Aw.
prospect. Yeah, I was like 15. So, anyways, I call on Sunday, and it rings for like it's like half a ring, and someone answers. Hello, it's a woman's voice. Hello. And I said, yeah, Rick Baker gave me this number. I'm calling for like Dick Smith's school. She's like, hold on, Dick, pick up the phone.
Stop
I swear to
it!
God. Dick Smith gets on the phone. He's like, hello? And I'm like, oh, I am so sorry for calling you on a Sunday. I thought this was a school. Rick Baker gave me your number. I wanted to think. And he just talked to me for like an hour.
Wow.
Talked to me, asked me a million questions, which he definitely did not need to do.
Yeah.
And at the end of it, he goes, he's like, so why do you want to do, he's asking me all these questions. Why do you want to do this? Why do you want to do this?
Mm-hmm.
And I said, I love like planning the shot, and I like making the thing, but like planning the shot and figuring it out. And like, I love showing it to people and scaring them, I love those things, I start talking him through the things I love about it and what I like doing.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, you're not a makeup artist, you're a filmmaker. And I was like, but I wanted to, he's like, no. That's what the director does. That's what the writer does. Like, you want to be a filmmaker. Go be a filmmaker. And I was like, okay.
Damn.
Whoa.
And so that's what I did. I went and became a filmmaker.
Wow. That's a really incredible story.
Yeah, it was
Wow.
just pure luck. I mean, I think I would have probably figured that out eventually, but to have it be told to me by him was like insane.
Yeah. That is so cool.
Yeah, thanks.
So, were you born and raised in California?
Yeah, I grew up in Calabasas.
Gotcha. Okay.
It was a very different Calabasas when I grew up. Like now, every time I say I grew up in Calabasas, people think like Jake Paul and Drake. Yeah, it was not. I mean, I guess it was bougie, but I don't know. I was kind of cut off from that whole thing. It was just different. It was like the most famous thing about Calabasas when I was there was the Menendez brothers.
Oh,
yeah. So it's changed a little bit.
Yeah. That's so crazy. Like, I can't even think about, like, when I was 15, I was just, like, finishing high school and, like, trying to find a job so that when I turned 16, I could, like, get a car. Like, I'm from Minnesota originally. So, like,
what did you do?
Definitely.
What was your job? What was your 15-year-old job?
Well, I did an internship for my high school. So I was, like, the theater liaison, but it wasn't like paid. Like, I still made a little bit of money, but then when I was 16, I got my like first official job at KFC. So I always make like jokes about that because everybody starts somewhere.
Yeah, I mean,
and now we're here.
Yeah, look at us.
Right.
Mine was McDonald's.
Really?
Wow, you guys both work fast food.
And then, like, at night, late night, I had a cool, laid-back manager just let me walk away with a bag of M&M's, the small ones from the McFlurries.
Yes! The minis?
The mini ones, yeah. So I would have, like, 3 or 4 bags a week. I just go to school and, like, or go to my friend's house. I'm like, hey, you want some? Want some? Want some? Yeah, it's good times.
You're like the candy pimp.
Yeah, I was.
I feel out of touch here because I never worked fast food.
Did you have any odd jobs?
Oh yeah, I mean I had tons of really bad jobs.
Yeah.
There was this. So I was like on tech crew and drama, like, and there was this lighting company that came through and they would light some of the shows for everyone because they were like they used to go to. And then now they had a party lighting company,
Yeah.
And so they hired me to like, I don't know, basically lug stuff for them. I would just roll up and just like wrap wire for 16 hours for them and, stuff like that. Like just like really like laborious jobs.
Yeah.
Like, a lot of that.
That makes sense though. I mean,
I guess, yeah.
Now you hate doing that, so you don't have to do it again.
And then I had a brief job where I updated computer systems to be Y2K compliant.
Oh, okay.
When we were all afraid that was going to happen.
That was a trippy time.
Yeah.
So
Funny.
I met you at it was WonderCon, right? Was where the panel was happening. I really want to know, like, do you like doing panels at cons? Do you attend cons in your own time? Or was that just kind of like a one-off opportunity that you were like, yeah, I'd love to speak on?
So like
writing?
I yeah, thanks for the question. I mean, I do attend cons sometimes. Sometimes like I'm there to like promote something specific. And that was not one of those times. A friend of mine was doing his panels and she was talking to me and I was like, I've just never been asked to do any of these panels. Like, and I had all these friends who were always like, I'm doing these panels. So she was like, well, I'm starting a panel if you'd like to come do it. And I said, sure. I like that kind of stuff. It's fun. And I feel like, I work so much and so hard and I learn things along the way. And like, some of it can be helpful to people. So I like sharing.
For sure.
It,
Yeah.
So I really enjoy that. But I grew up going to cons. Like I grew up going to these cons, like really going to these cons, like in costumes
Yeah.
yeah, like I really went to these cons, but more horror cons. Like there was a Fangoria's Weekend of Horrors, which still happens now, but it's a bit different.
Yeah.
I used to go to that, man, and wait in line to get Clive Barker and Wes Craven's autograph for
There
hours.
you go.
Yeah, but now I really enjoy that. Yeah, it was fun meeting you. I don't, as you can tell, or as you could probably tell, I didn't have like this sort of I don't know my way around so simply at a con. You know what I'm saying?
No one does.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough.
You're not alone.
All of you feel so comfortable there, and I'm kind of like, I think I go over here. I don't know where to go. But
after a while, you just see like the flow of things.
Yeah.
And you just walk with it. It's like, don't even try to plan anything. Just like everyone's walking this direction. Okay, just wander off.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of what I did. So I guess I intuitively.
You figured it out. You found your way. Yeah, I am I'm an actor, but there is a film that I was recently in. It's called Girls on Film on Amazon Prime. If you haven't seen it, we're number 5 for LGBTQ on Amazon Prime.
Congrats.
We were number 1, so I'm hoping we'll get it back to number 1 again. But I wish the director, Robin, if you're watching this, I wish we did more panels because so many people ask me either on Instagram or Patreon just random questions about like what was it like filming and what was it like being cast as like a lead in this production. And one of my questions for you is, do you get bombarded on social media about your projects? Like, do you feel like people go out of their way to like solicit you for their projects via social media, or do you feel like it's all still going through professional sources?
Well, I often will route people through professional sources because it kind of has to. I don't even understand all the legal protections, but I understand that like because people send stuff to you, I can't even read it because if there's anything in it that resembles anything that I've done, then people can be like, you stole that. I don't totally understand it. So I just go send it to my manager and then it'll get to me.
There you go.
But I get asked every day, is there like, what's the deal with Brightburn? Is there a Brightburn 2? Are there going to be more Brightburns? What's happening? There was an article that went around that was like, Brightburn 2 is going to be written by AI. And then I got like months of people asking me questions. I'm like, I read it with all of you. I was surprised to read that. And I don't really know who put that out, to be totally honest, because the people I know with Brightburn didn't.
Well, I'm going to take Will You Make a Brightburn 2 off my list of questions.
You can totally ask. I actually like saying it here so that people can hear sort of broadly where it's at, but no, I get asked that every day. And yeah, I mean, it ebbs and flows. Like around the release of something, it gets nuclear and then it kind of chills out for a while. And, it's got a up and down kind of thing.
I feel that. There's waves where everyone's like, "Oh, I'm watching the film that you're in. It's so great, so cool." And then I get like times where people are like, "You were in a movie? You're an actor?" And I'm like, it's fine. It's fine. Yes, I am. But I watched Brightburn literally last night because I was like, I gotta see what all the fuss is about. I was not prepared. Like, for one, star-studded cast.
Yeah.
Congrats.
Yeah.
2,
amazing.
The boy was amazing.
Jackson, he's unbelievable. Yeah,
like,
he's great.
What was it like directing them?
I mean, it was a lot of fun. I mean, it felt very much like a family, kind of, in a weird way. Like, I had met Elizabeth a while earlier because she came to James's house and taught us all this game Mafia.
I love that game.
Yeah.
And so she taught us Mafia, and so I'm forever in debt to her and her husband for teaching us that because it changed our lives. We played it so much. So I met her through that.
Yeah.
And James and I are obviously intensely close. Like, he officiated my wedding. Like, we're very close. And so he was sitting next to me on monitor every day. And then Jackson, I don't have any relationship outside of Brightburn with Jackson, or like previous to Brightburn. But it was but we all got close. You know, you're on a movie, you get close with everyone, and it kind of became a bit of a family. Denman also, David Denman, he's like a giant teddy bear. I love Dave. He's really like a lovable guy. But it was a very tough movie to make, because we had big aspirations. Like, people see that movie, came out on Memorial Day weekend, it had James Gunn's name on the credits, and people think of it as a big expensive movie, but it was not. We made that movie for like $6 million, and so the ambition of what we were trying to achieve did not match the amount of money we had to achieve it.
Wow.
And so in order to achieve what we did, it was a lot of work.
Yeah, there was so many iconic moments during the film that I was like, that had to be really difficult to film. There's just so many different scenes, and I was like, that setup there is insane.
Yeah.
Is there a certain scene or a moment where you were just like, I don't know what we're doing here, but we're gonna do it, and it's gonna be great? Like, that you had to kind of pull yourself up?
Definitely. I mean, there were a couple. I mean, you know,
You had to be delusional and get yourself through it.
I did. I had to keep. Yes, there was a lot of delusion going on in my mind. Like, we're gonna make our day today. We're like, this will work.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, there were a couple scenes. Like, I mean, the scene with the scene where Matt. Oh, by the way, Matt Jones. Like I love him. So the scene where his jaw falls off is just like, that was so fun to shoot. And I mean, for me, it was terrible for him.
Yeah.
But like, so the way that day broke down was we shot the stuff like of him sort of confront, you know, with Brandon kind of stopping the car and the sort of showdown. And then we had a crane come in and we lifted the car actually into the air and just dropped it.
Wow.
Know? And that was so fun to do.
Yeah, I bet.
And then we all went to lunch.
And
as one does. And while we were at lunch, Matt got his like the prosthetic component put on his face, and the team, you know, the art department was working on this car that we had just flattened, to make it safe for Matt to get inside of. So like sanding down sharp edges, clearing out real glass, replacing it with fake glass, all that stuff.
Wow.
And you know, bear in mind, like, we were a tight production, so the plan was that car was going to fall, and there was a way I wanted it to fall. And then, but we didn't have a second option. So however it fell was going to be how it was in the movie, and so we had to just hope it fell the right way. Now, fortunately, it fell the way I had boarded it, and so my plan could hold. But so that was terrifying also.
Yeah.
But anyways, he came back, and Matt was such a champ because he was freezing and he's upside down in a totally demolished car and uncomfortable with his prosthetic on his face. We probably did this shot of his jaw coming off like 100 times to get it right. I mean, just kept trying. It would stick to the blood, and so it like wouldn't come off. So he's like shaking his head to get it to drop, and then it's like we're putting fishing line. Like anything to like get it to work, and then we finally got it, and and when we got it, we were like, I think this is going to be good, but you don't know because there's a huge visual effects component.
Yeah.
Somewhere in the middle of editorial, we got our first draft of it from VFX. We were like, oh my God, what have we created?
Yeah, it's brutal.
Yeah,
like,
it's pretty rough.
That scene was really brutal for me. Like, I did this thing probably during that a lot because I know it's fake. Like, I can tell myself over and over again, like, I've been in like low budgets where it's horror and there's blood everywhere, and I'm like, I know what this is like. I've been the person that's decapitated. I've been the person covered in blood. It's fine. But as soon as I watch it, I'm like, I can't look. Right. The glass in the eye is scarred in my head.
Oh, it's so funny.
Because it was so long.
It's so long.
And you did that on purpose.
I did that so on purpose. And I got so much pressure from the studio, from people like, does it need to be that long? Does it need to be that long? And I'd be like, well, let's test it. And then we went and tested the movie. And I'd had this theory. And the theory was, and I say this as a massive fan of James Wan, but he doesn't love gore. Like, his movies don't really have gore. And he sort of dominated horror for a long time. So there's like a generation that's grown up now on movies that are very scary from him, but that aren't gory. And they lack that kind of like brutality that I had grown up with in the movies that I loved growing up. And so I kind of bet on the fact that like people would be totally caught off guard by the level of brutality of the movie.
Yeah.
And yeah, so when we started testing the movie, my theory actually really was validated intensely, because traditionally violence in movies is like dings your score. And but for whatever reason they saw Brightburn and they were like, more violence.
More.
So I ended up extending the eye bit a little more, and they were like, do you have any more violence? And we're like, we don't, like we used it all.
Wow.
Give us money and we'll make more.
Yeah, wow. That's awesome though, that people really were hungry for more of like what you enjoyed, and it speaks to like your craft and like how you make films, is that you had this intuition that, oh, this whole generation grew up without seeing this thing. I bet if I give it to them a little bit, they'll want more.
Yeah.
So good on you for calling that.
Thanks.
Especially kids. Like, I don't think it's been a while since you've seen something so small, but with abilities, just going through like, those Carrie, those Poltergeist back then.
Yeah.
But there wasn't one like there was a Chucky doll. There was no real human like doing that mayhem and whatnot, and then just being in that situation. I loved it. I thought it was a great concept. I'm like, oh my God, the kid actor is awesome and amazing.
Amazing.
It's really great. Absolutely great.
Yeah, it's a weird movie because it's like, I felt like if you leave Superman hopeful, I wanted you to leave Brightburn just being completely void of hope.
Crash and burn.
Yeah, and like audiences have feelings about that, you know what I mean? But it's like, that is what it is, right? We're spoofing, we're parodying something. We're like inverting something, and we're winking at the audience, and so I just felt like we had to do that in every aspect.
It's great. In the comic books, Superman lands in Russia in the alternate universe, or another planet.
Yeah.
So what would happen if Superman landed in somewhere else that's not Kansas? And it was just dominantly Russian, superior. It was crazy and whatnot. And then watching this, I'm like, yeah, what if?
But what sort of, because there's definitely been other like, what if Superman was bad storylines. I mean, I think there was one in Injustice, the game. But what made this unique was like that we were telling it through the lens of like the horror genre, right? It's like Superman as a slasher movie. And that kind of changed, that made it really unique, I think, to me, it's a nuance that some people don't get. They're like The Boys and Brightburn, they're like so similar, and you're like, I totally can see how people feel like it's similar because it's a very violent thing. They're both really violent. But to me, like, I love The Boys, but it's not horror. No. It's, you know what I mean? It's a different genre entirely. And like, what made Brightburn distinct to me was, we were creating we were trying to put you in a constant state of like unease and tension, and
it worked.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh my gosh. The other scene that stands out to me is when the therapist, who's the aunt, is like on her phone texting, and you have this beautiful wide shot. You can see all the windows to her backyard and the pool. And I sat there because it's like 2 minutes long of watching her like, and I'm like, it's gonna happen. There's gonna be a jump scare. It's gonna happen, and then it never did. So I felt like an idiot. I was like, what? What?
But that's
great.
That's it. I mean, by the way, speaking of which, that's James Wan. Like, that is like keeping you in a constant state of anticipation of what's going to come. Like if you come and watch one of my films, like you and I, you don't know it yet, but we've entered into a game of wits in which I'm gonna try to fuck with you as hard as I can for the whole movie.
I lost a lot of times. I lost the wit game because I was like, it's gonna happen right now. It's happening right now, and then it wouldn't. I'm like, you know what? Stupid. And then something would happen. I'm like, there it is.
That's fun.
There it is. Yeah, that scene threw me for a loop, like waiting for the jump scare to happen. So really enjoyed watching it. I don't know that I'll watch it again because It's a lot, but
I've seen it about, I want to say, close to 12 times.
Really?
Wow,
Yeah.
really?
Wow.
It's just that good. Just
Thanks,
after
man.
watching like Men of Steel and all that stuff like that, I'm like, but what if?
Yeah.
What if?
Yeah, like Kevin Costner's role as Kent. I forgot the first name. But anyways, Kevin Costner's role as being the adopted father.
Mm-hmm.
I like what Zack Snyder did with that. It's like, the kid is like, should I save him or should I let him die? He's like, I don't know, maybe. I'm put in a serious situation now. What you did was just took that into a whole deeper level as a kid that's really little, getting bullied and doing all this stuff like that. I'm like,
Yeah.
if I was a superhero, I knew I had powers. Oh yeah, I'd be some heads rocking left and right.
Yeah.
You know, and it's just like, how do you stop that?
Well, there's something unique about. There are these myths that we're just told all the time, right? And like Superman is one of those myths, right? Like this boy falls from the sky, and like these parents just raise him, and he's just a great guy. They lie to him, by the way. They lie to him for years, and then he totally forgives them, and he just grows up to be like the greatest guy. And like maybe, but I don't know. I was a teenager, and if I could melt people with my eyes, that would not have been a great thing. I think, and
what are you trying to say? Is this like a piece of your own childhood?
Yeah, I mean, a little. But like,
I think it related to everyone else has been like bullied or gone through some crazy stuff growing up. So to have those abilities, it's kind of like the little kid inside of us be like, yeah, revenge, destroy everything.
Yeah.
Right. So
yeah, that is sort of the total place that it came from, and also a kind of snarky like cynicism towards like popular myths that we keep hearing, like I mean, there's a reason why like the turn in that movie when he really like embraces his heritage, if you call it that, is like when he realizes he's being lied to by his parents the whole time. Like, we just accept in this myth that like, okay, you've lied to me for a really long time, and you've told, I don't know, I'm just not a big fan of lying. And when you look at that story through that lens, it's, I don't know.
So moving past Brightburn, because we can talk about it forever, which we'll go on Patreon and we'll ask you more about it. I also love that you left it open-ended, but we'll talk about that on Patreon, so join us there if you want to hear more Brightburn. I want to get back to you a little bit, though. So what are you working on? Any current projects that are coming out in the future? Are you always working on things? Do you take seasons off? Like, what is it like for you as a writer, director, and producer, right?
Well, no, there's no time off. There's no time off. I just picture locked a movie like 2 days ago.
Oh, wow.
So there is a movie coming very soon. It's I have to be careful about what I say about it. It's Bill Skarsgård and Anthony Hopkins in a very tense movie.
Ooh,
dude, good for Bill
awesome.
Skarsgård, man. He's doing a lot.
Yeah.
He is. I love him. I love Bill. He is the sweetest. I adore that guy. Yeah.
That's so cool, though.
Yeah.
And you made time for Delulu Canoe.
I did.
So honored.
So awesome.
Thank you for that.
Of course. I'm happy to be here. This is like, understand that like the weeks up to picture lock is so intense on a director. Everything is so serious, and it's like every decision is locked in and you can't go back. So like to come here and hang out with you guys and chat about things is such a relief.
Talk about some silly stuff.
Yeah.
And your accomplishments. Like, it's always nice to be doted on a little bit.
Yeah. Yes, it is. Go on. Tell me more.
Like, tell me how great I am. Do you go out a lot to, like, network and events here in LA? Or are you kind of more of, like, I have to work on my work and I like to preserve my peace or my energy?
That's a good question. I mean, there was definitely a time when I was more social. But I didn't really ever think about it as networking. I mean, my goal in life from a young age, like when I decided I wanted to be a filmmaker, I looked at I idolized like stories I would hear of like multiple filmmakers, like who like would sort of work together. Like, I'll give you an example. Like, there's stories of like George Lucas showing Steven Spielberg Star Wars and getting notes from him. I think it's so cool. There's a video that's on YouTube somewhere that I saw. It's Kevin Smith pacing, smoking a cigarette, and he's showing the movie to Tarantino, right? Which would be so terrifying already.
Yeah.
And he's in that space that every director's been, where like here it is. You're basically like spreading your butt cheeks for someone, going like, check it out, tell me what you think.
Yeah.
And Tarantino's there, and he's like, okay, and he's giving him the notes, and they're just in director mode. I don't know how this footage ended up on YouTube, but I like adore those relationships, and I always wanted like a group of friends that were all like really that were like me, that wanted to do stuff, and make things, and like be collaborative and supportive of each other, and so I never thought of it as networking. I thought of it as like finding my people and like developing relationships with them. So I don't know, maybe it's to my advantage or to not my advantage, but there's no line between business and personal with me, like it's like.
Yeah, I don't think that's a bad thing.
Yeah, maybe.
I feel like it either brings you towards people because like you're going off of like your gut, whether you're like, oh, this person's my friend, or if it treads a little too far. Because like I have the tendency, like when I go out places, for me personally, it gets a little like clout chasey, especially in LA. So I guess like excited to hear that like when you did go out, it wasn't that way. It was more like you were talking to your friends and you were putting things together. Whereas like I guess maybe in like my demographic, or maybe because I'm like a woman or whatever the case is, it's like it turns into clout chasing really fast. Where it's about like who's got the most followers, or like who's making the biggest project, or who's got like their Getty images. And it's refreshing to hear that you go out and you work with people like they're your family.
Yeah, that's the thing that I wanted to create. But look, it's fortunate that like I'm going to go out and no one's going to try to sleep with me, or no one's going to try to flirt with me. You know what I mean? It's
Must be nice.
I mean, I guess maybe that's fortunate, or maybe it's not. But yeah, I mean, but like I can understand the intention of the person I'm talking to.
Yeah.
And I can understand how that would be you might have to create boundaries because people can use work to lead into something else, and that's it. So that's a layer of complication that I'm fortunate enough that I haven't had to confront or to deal with. But I think the core of what I'm saying is that, like, to me, it's always been about relationships, like real relationships, and investing in people.
Yeah, definitely.
You meet someone that you think is impressive in some way, like has a hustle, has a creative eye on something, whatever. And then you're like, all right, I'll invest time in this person. I'll hang out with this person. We'll talk about things and see where things go. I mean, look, me being here is a piece of that. Like, I met you, and you're like you're doing all these cool things, and you've got this podcast, and you're like, you're doing all this cool stuff, and I'm like, all right, well, I will. She wants me to come be her podcast. I'll show up for her. Now we're friends, right?
Yeah.
Nice. And I think that's sort of that. I think that's where it should come from.
You lucked out that I'm not creepy, so.
Well, that's yet to be established.
You're like, well.
I'm assuming you're not creepy, but who knows?
I mean, I don't like to think I'm creepy, but you never know.
You never know.
The time of the place.
She's creepy, man. Run.
Yeah.
I was like, she never lets me out. I live in the closet. Nah, I let you out on the weekends.
On the weekends. I gotta do my show and I come right back.
Right? That's all he gets to be free for. Well, where can people find you on social media and support you in your next endeavors?
I'm really only on Instagram. It's just my name, David Yarovesky, which will be a nightmare for most people to spell, but good luck. If you can do it, you will find me. So I'm on Instagram.
Cool.
And you can definitely like reach out to me there. And I'll often, like, if I have a night off or something, I'll like post like, ask me questions or whatever, and I'll respond to people.
Yeah. And check out IMDb. It always helps writers, actors, directors. It literally helps anyone in the industry if you look up their IMDb, because it places you higher on the star meter. So if you're ever bored one night, you can look us both up, get our stars up. My star went up super high because I made a TikTok and it went viral because I talked about being cast in the film I was in. So my highest like star meter is like ridiculously high that I'll probably never breach again. But we'll keep the Delulu vibes going. Maybe it'll go higher when my next film comes out. But
by the way, that's a huge distinction between us because when you're acting and you're in front of the camera, like I think you need that kind of you need that kind of attention or clicks to I kind of prefer to like hide in the shadows.
Oh, okay.
You know what I mean? So don't click on my IMDb.
So don't look at
my IMDb. That star meter. No. I just to me, I'm like a behind the scenes kind of person, and so that is another distinction that
Oh yeah.
That you and I have to. That separates our ability to like go meet people, mingle, that kind of thing.
Well, don't look up his IMDb.
No.
I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Yeah. We're being playful. You can or not. Who cares?
It's up to you.
Don't do it.
Yeah, don't do it. And we're going to take this over to Patreon, where a couple of you have asked some awesome questions, very like thought-provoking ones, and we'll talk a little bit more about Brightburn because I have my own personal questions.
Cool.
That you all don't get to see for free. So come check us out on Patreon. Become a free member. I actually do drop things occasionally that are free on there, so go check us out. Be sure to check out The Cosmo Show as well. Give him some love on his channel.
Yeah.
Watch his videos. Tell him you found him from the DeluluCanoePod. And be sure to stay Delulu. Oh, wait. I almost forgot. What little critter do you relate to the most? We've got a bear who's kind of like on the outside, a dog who's a little bit angry that the oar is dropped in the water, or the cat that's kind of scared.
Cat that's kind of scared.
Yeah? Wait, why are you scared?
I once I went and I saw Clive Barker speak once. And he said that people think that we, as people who make these like dark things, aren't scared of anything, but it's the opposite, right? Like we're scared of everything. and like we're constantly in a state of fear or terror and like or emotional distress or whatever. We feel more, and a part of that drives us to like want to tell stories and put you through that experience, and it also gives us a unique lens into life that is more scary or more terrifying. So to me, scared cat at the edge,
kitty cat,
little trembling cat, I think is my spirit animal.
I feel like I'm just the bear on the outside. I'm like, okay, cool. Like I didn't know that. Cosmo, do you have anybody you relate to?
I am like the dog, like the
You're
kid.
You're always the dog.
Like the kid in Brightburn. So I'm just like, what's going on?
Searing
Laser beam eyes.
Some days I'm the dog.
Aww.
Some days I'm the cat.
Yeah, you shift. Depends on the topic of the day.
Yeah.
But be sure to stay Delulu to make all your dreams come true, Lulu. And we'll see you on Patreon.
Adios.
Bye.